You're listening to the Third Coast Gridiron H-Town's podcast on the LSG Network with your host, Marc Henry.
We crowned a state champion in the TAPS division in Texas, and now we're in the fifth round of the UIL playoffs that features some of the best in the H. We'll talk about that and more. Of course, we'll go over some scores from Week 4, the regional final of the Texas High School Football Playoffs here on the TCG, the Third Coast Gridiron. I'm your host, Marc Henry, brought to you by Lone Star Gridiron, the authority for high school football in the state of Texas. Listen, man, we're getting down to the last few weeks of the playoffs, the last few weeks of the high school football season. It's Christmas time. Who's going to be unwrapping a state championship here in the state of Texas? We'll talk about that and more today here on the Third Coast Gridiron. We'll pause, take a break, and we'll come back and talk about the TAPS championship and a few games from the regional finals here on TCG, the Third Coast Gridiron.
With open enrollment for Medicare, ACA, Obamacare, and small group plans for businesses with less than 100 employees, if you're in need of health insurance solutions, look no further than HAP Insurance Agency. Yes, HAP Insurance Agency is a fantastic resource right in the heart of College Station, Texas. Whether you're in retirement, a business owner, or simply looking for the best health coverage option, HAP Insurance Agency has got you covered. You can find them in College Station at 1551 Greens Prairie Road West, Suite 101A, or give Holly Pritchard a call at 972-897-0814. That's HAP Insurance Agency. Do you have a party coming up or just want a special gift? Check out Nani's Sweeter Side. Yes, Nani's Sweeter Side makes the most amazing custom-created sugar cookies with your design. They also offer paint your own cookies and decorate your own cookies. Those make an excellent sweet activity that you can sink your teeth into at parties. Nani's also offers some of the most amazing cupcakes ever. You can check out Nani's Sweeter Side at nanisweeterside.com. That's N-A-N-I. Check her out on Facebook. Just look for Nani's Sweeter Side. Or give her a call at 937-499-4790. At Nani's Sweeter Side, you'll find that happiness is homemade.
Let's talk about the St. Thomas Eagles Division I TAPS matchup with Parish Episcopal from the Dallas area. This went down on Friday in Waco, and St. Thomas comes up short 40-29 in a tough loss. But listen, the Eagles finished off 12-1 with a great year, led by some great players in Johan Cardenas and Dante Lewis. They come up short 40-29, but this was a game where Parish led the way rushing. They have one of the best running backs in the state in Maddox Reed, Harvard commit, rushed for 188 yards and 4 touchdowns. They rushed overall for 273 yards. But listen, these guys played a great game. Cardenas finished with 58 yards and 3 touchdowns. Dante Lewis was 18 of 26 with 300 yards and a touchdown. This was a great game. They came up short, but listen, shout out to Coach McGuire and those guys over there. They had a wonderful season. They come up short 40-29 against Parish Episcopal, who wins another state championship. Congratulations to those guys. Congratulations on the season by St. Thomas, but they fall 40-29. Let's talk about another big game last week that we talked about. We'll talk about the fourth round of the playoffs. Westfield taking on Duncanville in a game where Duncanville led by a wide margin going into halftime. Duncanville takes out Westfield 70-28. This was a matchup of two teams that had met last year, and Duncanville came out on top. Just a big game by Duncanville. Almost 50 consecutive points to take the lead and kind of run away with it. Duncanville's one of the best teams in the state. We know what they're going to do. DeCorian Moore had a wonderful game. He's a 2025 wide receiver for Duncanville. Caden Durham had several touchdowns to pace the running game for Duncanville. Now, a good thing for Westfield is senior running back Taj Atkins. He had a great game as an individual, but just too much Duncanville, and they took care of business 70-28. Summer Creek, they've been playing well. Their only losses to North Shore in the year, they get by Hightower in a big comeback. Shout out to those guys that have been playing very well at Summer Creek. They get a 35-31 victory over Hightower. Summer Creek's got a very good defense. Of course, they got one of the best backs in the state in Lord Avant. This is a game that, was kind of a toss-up. Both teams come in playing very well, but Summer Creek outlasted Hightower, and they move on to the 5th round of the playoffs. They're one game away from state. This is a big thing for Summer Creek. Of course, they play in one of the toughest districts in the H that includes North Shore, Tascasita, and Sea King, as well as Summer Creek as well. Big victory for those guys. And the aforementioned North Shore gets by Tascasita. This is a matchup. Listen, it seems like these guys just run into each other every year in the playoffs. This is a matchup that second time they faced each other, and North Shore gets the victory to move on to face Austin Westlake. But this is a big game for those guys, and North Shore came out on top, 34-28. Of course, shout out to Tascasita. Zion Brown's been one of the best quarterbacks for the last 3 years in the state, not just in the Houston area. He played very well. But North Shore gets by him. They move on to the next round. Of course, got to shout out Braden Conley and those guys. They've been great over at Tascasita for the last 3 or 4 years. And North Shore advances to play Austin Westlake, which we'll talk about here in just a little bit. Port Neches Groves took on Huntsville, which was a big game in the 4A ranks. They get by Huntsville 24-14. The Indians will play Liberty Hill this week in the 5th round of the playoffs, who's a juggernaut in the 5A Division II ranks. Of course, Port Neches Groves made it to state last year. They won the 13th consecutive game of the season. They entered this game, which we'll talk about in a little bit, at 13-1, but they get the big victory over Huntsville 24-14. Belleville. Listen, Belleville's a little bit, I would say maybe northwest of the H, but they're close enough to talk about it. They get past Jasper to get the regional crown. Belleville's been playing phenomenal. They get the win 31-7, dominate a very good Jasper team in the 4A Division II regional championship. Belleville's got one of the best defenses in 4A. They hold Jasper to 7 points. That's what you got to do in the playoffs, is you have to capitalize on your opportunities to advance. It's a survive and advance type of thing with the playoffs, and Belleville gets it done 31-7. Shout out to those guys for getting to the next round. But we'll take a small break. We'll come back and we'll look at a couple of matchups in the semifinals here in the Ace that feature some of the best teams in the state. All about the playoffs, man. Right here on TCG, the Third Coast Gridiron.
Hey, football fans, Christmas is right around the corner. We have the perfect gift for your high school football fan in your life. Friday Night Legends, the board game. With Friday Night Legends, you can play the greatest high school teams of all time against each other based on their real stats. That means you can play the 1989 Odessa Permian Panthers of Friday Night Lights fame against the 2017 Mater Day team and really see who's the better team. Or what about Peyton Manning's Newman High School in New Orleans against Trevor Lawrence's Cartersville, Georgia team? There are thousands of teams in the library from all over the United States. Get your copy of Friday Night Legends at BoardGameLegends.com and be the hero of Christmas morning.
Looking to boost your company's marketing? Look no further than Fresh MediaWorks. Podcasting is the best way to promote your brand and increase your customer base. You can create your own show, be a guest on other podcasts, or advertise on existing podcasts to reach a valuable audience. Don't wait. Start elevating your marketing game today with Fresh MediaWorks. Call now. 713-269-5234. 888-4620 or find us online at freshmediaworks.com/podcasting.
Let's talk semifinals. One game away from state. We'll start with 6A Division I. North Shore takes on Austin Westlake, two teams that met last year in this particular bracket and at this stage of the playoffs last year. North Shore came out on top to advance. The difference will be this year, Caleb Bailey is on the field. Of course, Dion DeBlanc is coming off a monster game last week to get past Atascocita, over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. The North Shore defense has been playing phenomenal. Devin Sanchez is one of the best cornerbacks in the country. This will be a great matchup. This will be 3 o'clock Saturday in Pflugerville. These two teams have met in this previous years, so they kind of used to this. It's been there and done that type of thing. Two teams that definitely you want to check out and see what's going on with that, man. I mean, I really think that North Shore, they had a couple of penalties last week, over 115 yards worth of penalties. I saw where Coach Gaston was talking about that. They want to clean up those mistakes. They want to clean those things up and get it done. Of course, on the other side of the bracket, Duncanville faces off a Great North Crowley team up in the Metroplex. Duncanville took out Westfield last week 70-28, so you'll definitely be able to see what happens with those two games. Those are the final 4 teams in 6A Division I. 6A Division II, you have Summer Creek, who got past Hightower in a big victory. They take on Cibolo Steel out of the San Antonio area. Cibolo Steel's a great team coming in 13-1. Of course, Summer Creek has a great defense as well, and one of the best backs in the state in Lloyd Avant. That'll be a 4 p.m. kick in Waco. And on the other side of that bracket, an interesting matchup as well. South Lake Carroll and DeSoto, two blue bloods, if you will, of high school football that meet up in the Metroplex. Those are the 6A Division II Final 4 teams. Let's talk about 5A now, Division I. No teams from the Houston area here, but we'll just talk about the teams a little bit. Up in the Metroplex area, you got Forney versus Aledo. Of course, if you know high school football, you know the Aledo Bearcats. They're a team that's been to state a number of times and won it. They're 14-0 coming in against Forney. It's 13-1. Forney's got one of the best running backs in the class of 2026, and so does Aledo. Aledo's running back, Racine Guillory, and Forney's running back, Javion Osborne, are two sophomore running backs that you probably will start to hear more things about down this way in the H. But those are two teams that have two of the best running backs that you want to see. On the other side of the 5A Division I bracket, Brownsville Veterans Memorial takes on Smithson Valley. Of course, Smithson Valley is one of those teams that's been there and done that. This is a game to go to state. Veterans Memorial is coming out of Southern Texas. You don't hear a lot about teams in Southern Texas a lot, but Veterans Memorial is one of those teams around the state that you're going to hear about. This is a big game. This will be Friday in Corpus Christi. Now, the 5A Division II brackets, we'll talk about those a little bit. You got P&G, who got past Huntsville, taking on Liberty Hill. Now, Liberty Hill is one of those teams out of the Austin area that runs one of those classic offenses, man. That kind of wing tee, slot tee, quick game. They will maul you. This is going to be a tough matchup for P&G, who advanced to the state championship last year. And on the other side of the bracket, you have state champion, two-time state champion South Oak Cliff taking on Frisco Emerson out of the North Texas area. Of course, you know about South Oak Cliff, one of the best teams in 5A. They are 12-2, and Frisco Emerson's 12-2. That's a Friday kick up in the Metroplex.
Hey, did you know volleyball is the fastest growing sport in the country? Yes, volleyball is exploding. And so is our coverage of volleyball. Starting in a couple weeks, the High School Volleyball Coaches Show will launch. It's going to be by myself and Mick Haley. Mick Haley, if you know volleyball, you know him. He's won national championships coaching UT volleyball, won national championships coaching USC volleyball. He coached Olympic volleyball. You name it, he has done it all. And what we're going to do, we're going to talk to the top high school volleyball coaches in the country, not just Texas, the entire country, and it's going to be great. The High School Volleyball Coaches Show coming to you very soon. With open enrollment for Medicare, ACA, Obamacare, and small group plans for businesses with less than 100 employees, if you're in need of health insurance solutions, look no further than HAP Insurance Agency. Yes, HAP Insurance Agency is a fantastic resource right in the heart of College Station, Texas. Whether you're in retirement, a business owner, or simply looking for the best health coverage option, HAP Insurance Agency has got you covered. You can find them in College Station at 1551 Greens Prairie Road West, Suite 101A, or give Holly Pritchard a call at 972-897-0814. That's HAP Insurance Agency.
Let's talk about 4A. No teams from the Dallas area, but we'll talk about these games just a little bit. Anna at 13-1 and Decatur at 10-4. Anna's a team a little bit north of the Dallas area, and Decatur's a little bit, I would say, northwest of the Dallas area. Decatur's 10-4, Anna's 13-1. Two teams that come in the 4A Division I ranks. Tyler Chapel Hill takes on Davenport. In the other matchup, Tyler Chapel Hill's 12-2 and Davenport's 11-3. Should be a great game. Tyler Chapel Hill is one of those East Texas teams that you probably will hear about. These guys are good, and that'll be a great game. It'll be a 7 p.m. game down in Waco at McLean Stadium. 4A Division II features Belleville versus Wimberley. Now, Wimberley's one of those teams that's, regularly goes to state. One of the best teams that you'll hear in the 4A ranks. Of course, Belleville's been on a tear with that great defense. They had a big win last week over Jasper, 31-7. On the other side of the bracket, Gilmer takes on Glen Rose. Gilmer's an East Texas mainstay. You've heard about Gilmer before if you pay attention to high school football in the state of Texas. They're 11-3, take on Glen Rose, 10-4. 3A features Malakoff and Brock. This is 3A Division I, and on the other side, Franklin and Edna. Now, Franklin's one of the best teams in the 3A Division I ranks. They won state last year. They come in at 13-1, and Brock on the other side was their opponent last year. So some familiar names there in the 3A Division I ranks. They take on Malakoff, which is a tough team that's undefeated at 14-0. So there are your matchups for the 3A Division I ranks. 3A Division II, you got Gunter and Canadian, and Dangerfield and Tidehaven. Now, the Gunter-Canadian matchup is a matchup of teams that kind of play each other almost every year in the 3A Division II ranks. These are smaller schools that probably don't get a lot of notoriety around the state of Texas. But if you are a big fan of high school football, this is a big game. It'll be out west at Abilene Christian University on Friday. Two teams come in at 4-0. Gunter was the state champion last year in 3A Division II. Of course, Dangerfield's an East Texas powerhouse that takes on Tidehaven, comes in at 13-0. A couple of more games to look at. 2A Division I, Toller takes on Stafford, and Timpson takes on Ganado. Don't get mad at me, Ganado fans, if you hear this. But Timpson's 14-0 and Ganado's 12-2. Toller comes in at 13-1 and Stafford comes in at 14-0. 2A Division II matchups, semifinals, Sunray versus Albany, Chilton versus Mart. These are two big-time games. Mart's a team that's usually hanging around this time of year, and so is Albany. So these are two teams that are coming in 14-0 on different sides of the bracket, but they usually are in the playoffs. These are smaller school matchups, probably don't get a lot of notoriety around the state, but if you follow high school football very closely, you've heard these names before, you've heard these schools. Those two schools have been to the state championship in the previous years. March probably a favorite coming out of that bracket. But Chilton's 13-1 for a reason, and Sunray may have something to say about that Albany team, which comes in at 14-0. So definitely big matchups around the state of Texas. Of course, we will be watching the North Shore Westlake game as well, as Summer Creek taking on a big challenge. Of course, they got past Hightower in the previous round. They'll take on Cibolo Steel. But those are the teams that we'll be watching out of the Houston area here on TGC, and we'll come back and we'll let you know next week who advances to state, who's going to be going to Jerry World next week to possibly win a state championship here in the state of Texas. Follow us on Twitter at Third Gridiron and also at MarkHen44, on Instagram at Mark_Hen44, and at TXCP Show on Instagram and Twitter. We will get at you next week and tell you who's going to state right here on the TCG, the Third Coast Gridiron.
Looking to boost your company's marketing? Look no further than Fresh MediaWorks. Podcasting is the best way to promote your brand and increase your customer base. You can create your own show, be a guest on other podcasts, or advertise on existing podcasts to reach a valuable audience. Don't wait. Start elevating your marketing game today with Fresh MediaWorks. Call now, 713-269-4620, or find us online at freshmediaworks.com/podcasting.